He laughed when he said it, sitting in a luxury restaurant surrounded by power and pride, and pointed at a poor waitress as if she were part of the entertainment. "Dance tango, I'll marry you," he mocked, expecting silence, embarrassment, maybe tears. But what happened next froze the entire room. The waitress did not run away. She closed her eyes, took one breath, and in that moment, everything changed. Her body moved with fire, grace, and pain that words could never explain. Conversations stopped, laughter died. Even the billionaire forgot how to breathe. No one knew she had buried a dream, trained in shadows, and waited years for one chance. By the time the music ended, the joke was gone, and destiny had stepped onto the floor.
The restaurant was alive with soft golden lights and the low murmur of wealthy conversations, a place where expensive perfumes floated heavier than kindness, and where smiles were often rehearsed rather than felt. In one quiet corner of this luxury, a young waitress moved carefully between tables, her shoulders slightly hunched, her eyes trained on the floor as if the marble tiles were safer than the faces above her. She had learned long ago that attention could be cruel. That night, however, fate was already leaning toward her, ready to shake her life forever. At the center of the restaurant sat an Arab billionaire, a man whose name commanded boardrooms and bent markets. His tailored suit was flawless, his watch alone worth more than the annual salaries of everyone serving him. People leaned toward him when he spoke, laughed louder at his jokes, and watched him with the kind of admiration money often buys. Yet beneath the polished confidence lived a man burdened by emptiness, surrounded by admiration, but starved of sincerity. He had seen too many people pretend, too many smiles that vanished when the money left the room. The waitress reached his table with steady hands, unaware that she was about to become the center of his world. She carried herself with quiet dignity, though her uniform was simple and her shoes worn thin. Her hair was tied neatly, not for beauty, but for survival, and her eyes carried a depth that spoke of sleepless nights and unshared dreams. She took his order respectfully, efficiently, without attempting to impress. That indifference, that lack of performance, sparked something unexpected in him. As the night went on, laughter erupted from the billionaire's table. Surrounded by guests in arrogance, a careless comment turned into a challenge meant to entertain, not inspire. The idea was absurd, humiliating even, and spoken with the careless cruelty of someone who had never been told no. The challenge was framed like a joke, a performance demand dressed in mockery, something that assumed compliance or failure, but never dignity. The room subtly shifted. People watched with curious smiles, expecting embarrassment, expecting refusal, expecting the moment to pass as another story of power flexed and forgotten. What no one expected was the stillness that followed. The waitress did not rush away. She did not argue. She did not cry. Instead, she paused, closed her eyes briefly, and inhaled, as if she were standing on the edge of a memory rather than a marble floor. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that true talent can come from the most unexpected places, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps stories like this reach the hearts that need them most. When she opened her eyes, something had changed. Her posture straightened, her breathing slowed, and the timid waitress disappeared, replaced by a woman grounded in something ancient and powerful. The music in the restaurant faded, replaced by a rhythm that seemed to come from within her. What followed was not a performance meant to impress, but a release of years of suppressed emotion, discipline, and pain, transformed into movement. Her body moved with control and fire, elegance and precision, telling a story without words. Each step carried history, each turn echoed resilience. The room fell silent, conversations stopped mid-sentence, forks hovered in the air. Even the billionaire, accustomed to commanding attention, found himself unable to look away. This was not mockery anymore, this was mastery. Few knew that before life reduced her to survival, dance had been her language. Trained in secret, practiced in empty rooms, perfected through sacrifice, it was the one place where she felt free. Poverty had taken her stage, life had taken her opportunities, but it had not taken her skill. And now, in a room that had underestimated her, she reclaimed it all. As the final movement ended, silence hung heavy before the room erupted in stunned applause. The waitress stood still, not smiling, not bowing, simply breathing, as if she had just laid down a piece of her soul. In that moment, something irreversible happened. The billionaire felt it deep within his chest, a crack in the armor built by wealth and skepticism. This was not entertainment. This was truth. And truth, once seen, cannot be unseen.
The days that followed refused to return to normal. The billionaire, who once moved from meeting to meeting without a second thought, found his mind drifting back to the restaurant, to the woman who had shattered his assumptions without saying a single word. He began asking questions, quietly at first, then with growing urgency. Who was she? Where did she learn to move like that? Why was someone with such discipline and depth serving tables instead of commanding stages? What he uncovered humbled him. Her life had been carved by loss early on. Family responsibilities forced her to abandon dreams. Opportunities slipped through her fingers, not because of lack of talent, but lack of privilege. She worked multiple jobs, sent money home, and danced only in private, afraid to hope for more, because hope had betrayed her too many times before. Meanwhile, she returned to work the next day, expecting nothing to change. Experience had taught her that moments of brilliance often vanish without consequence. But whispers followed her. Eyes lingered. Management treated her differently. The memory of that night had spread beyond the restaurant walls, turning into something people could not forget. When the billionaire reached out again, it was not with arrogance, but with uncertainty. For the first time in years, he was afraid of being rejected, not as a powerful man, but as a human being seeking connection. He offered opportunity, not as charity, but as respect. Training, exposure, resources, things money could buy, but dignity could not guarantee. She hesitated. Trust was dangerous. Promises had broken her before. But something in his changed demeanor felt genuine. He was no longer amused. He was attentive. No longer dominant, curious. Slowly, carefully, she allowed the door to open. The journey that followed was not easy. Fame does not erase fear. Opportunity does not silence doubt. She trained relentlessly, pushing her body past exhaustion, fighting the voice that told her she did not belong. Critics questioned her background, elites whispered about her origins, but every time she stepped onto a floor, she remembered the silence of that restaurant, the moment when movement spoke louder than status. The billionaire watched from the shadows, learning lessons no business school had taught him. He saw discipline without entitlement, strength without arrogance, passion without expectation. And somewhere along the way, admiration transformed into something deeper, something terrifying in its sincerity. Their worlds collided not in romance, but in growth. They challenged each other. He learned humility. She learned confidence. The power imbalance faded, replaced by mutual respect.
What began as mockery had evolved into partnership and something even more dangerous for a man used to control: love. The night she returned to a grand stage, the lights were brighter than she had ever known. The audience was global now, watching not a waitress, not a novelty, but an artist. As music filled the hall, she danced not to prove herself, but to honor every version of herself that had survived. Each movement carried gratitude, pain, triumph, and release. When the final note faded, the standing ovation felt endless. Among the crowd, the billionaire stood silently, overwhelmed not by pride, but by awe. He realized then that the promise made in mockery had transformed into a vow made in truth. Not because she had danced well, but because she had shown him a world where value was not measured in wealth, but in courage. Their union, when it came, was quiet and deeply intentional. No spectacle, no headlines needed. Two lives shaped by opposite extremes, meeting at the center of respect. She never stopped being grounded. He never stopped learning. Together, they built platforms for hidden talent, funded dreams buried under poverty, and reminded the world that greatness often waits in places society overlooks. Before this story ends, if this journey moved you, inspired you, or made you believe again in unexpected miracles, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. And just before you go, comment below and tell us, do you believe destiny can hide in the smallest moments? We read every comment and your voice matters here. Because sometimes one dance is not just a performance, it is a doorway, and walking through it can change everything.